Right, so I figured I would go over some reasons why that housing prices are so expensive in California. There's some growing rumors that it is because of Proposition 13. Proposition 13, I can tell you right now, has nothing to do with that. I'll disprove this very quickly. When was Proposition 13 put into place? Think about this. 1978, right? So, over about the last 15 years, housing prices have gone up dramatically. Why didn't they go up right after this? Why didn't they go up right after the Proposition 13 happened? Could that possibly have anything to do with it? And the answer is no. No, it doesn't. That is a ploy for your money. We'll get back to that in a little bit. So, what things contribute to housing prices being high in California? Some of these are just some of the push points here. We'll go over them. The lumber tax per board foot in California. I don't know, because a lot of you guys are probably not aware of this. You're not in the building trades business. I am. I was a mechanic for many, many years. Then I got in the building and trades business because I couldn't make any money as a mechanic. And it's hard to make money in that business. But I got into building trades. I've done very well because of that. And one of the reasons why in the building and trades business is because there's a new tax that's come out in the last few years on lumber. And it's on top of your sales tax on lumber. There's also a board foot tax. And what that does is that adds to the cost of building a home. And to what's happening right now, and the reason why there's the housing market there's not that many new homes being built, is because it's not very profitable right now for builders to build a home. So a lot of them are doing remodels and other things like that. They're not building new homes because of these reasons here. One of them being the board foot tax. Another one is there is a paint recycle fee that was put into place in the last few years, about maybe 5 or 8 years ago, that came into place, and it's 75 cents per gallon. That affects me directly. I'm in the painting contracting business, and I'm also in the sign business. So that affects me greatly. It affects my customers greatly. There's a lot of people that just can't afford to paint because of that reason. So that adds to the cost of building. Another thing that adds to the cost of building is the increase we've had in minimum wage. And people go, well, that can't be the case. Well, yes, it is. Because what happens is now, everything costs a little bit more. Whenever you have an increase in minimum wage, what happens is every company that has a really tight margin already is forced to pay a higher wage to their employees versus being able to have to compete for that employee and have to pay a higher wage because of competition. And usually that means that they're making more money. In these cases, it's basically being forced from the bottom that we've got to pay more minimum wage. So that increases cost. And when you have a cost increase, that goes right through, most of the time, right straight to the consumer. They want to penalize companies, but they're not penalizing companies. They're actually penalizing middle class, because what happens is everybody in the middle class that makes above minimum wage actually gets a pay cut because everything that they buy costs more money. So therefore, building costs go up. It's that simple. Okay, increase in building codes. There's been, this is the biggest reason right here. In the last 10 years, last 15 years, we've had the largest increase in building codes that we've ever had, ever. And I want you to think about something. We have earthquakes in California, and there's just all these crazy earthquake laws for building codes. And we basically have to build the whole house with something called shear panel. And then it basically gets another layer of wood over that, then stucco and all kinds of stuff over that, depending on, what type of thing it is, what kind of building it is. And then there's, earthquake straps all over the place. There's hardware. It's gotten to the point, where the only thing that builders can build are big homes, because big homes are more profitable. And so what's happened is the smaller homes that people can afford are built on little tiny postage stamp lots, or they're giving them, apartments. And, if you want to give somebody a sense of permanency, they need a house. They don't need an apartment or a condominium. They need a house. They need a house with a decent amount of land around it so they can feel permanent where they live. Otherwise, people just want to get out of there. They don't want to be there. And so the building codes thing has just gotten crazy. I mean, we've gotten, we're putting fire sprinklers in every home. Now, I want you to think about for a second. Fire sprinklers, and how many people do you think probably were killed by not having fire sprinklers before the code was made? Come on. There's probably maybe 3 people in the whole state. Yet everybody, all the new homes have to have fire sprinklers. And you want to think about something for a second. Those fire sprinklers, to get those fire sprinklers approved for all those homes, I want you to think about something, what had to happen. Somebody went into Congress and they walked in their office with a big check and said, hey, I think we need to add fire sprinklers to the code. Don't think that didn't happen. I bet you anything, if you follow it, it'll go right back to the money. Another thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, they know about the gas tax that we had, but they don't understand that we had a 20 cents per gallon diesel tax plus another 5%. So it's actually about 35 cents a gallon on diesel. Now, what does that mean to houses and buildings? It means everything, because everything that comes on a truck went up in price. So, anytime you have a cost of diesel, especially more than gas even, whenever diesel goes up, all the building materials go up, and all the stuff that gets delivered by the trucks, all the hardware, all the windows, all the roofing material, all that stuff just double in price. In fact, a lot of that stuff petroleum based, like roofing material and stuff like that, that all just went way up in price when they started putting more mandates on emissions and gas taxes and all these other things. So if you wonder why, it's way cheaper in other states to build, so what happens is the big builders, they just go over to the other states and build. They don't care about building in California. Their labor cost is higher, their insurance is higher, their workers' comp insurance higher. Everything's higher here. So they just go, that's all right. We'll just go build over somewhere else. So that's what's happening. It's not because of Proposition 13. That's just you know what that is? I'm going to tell you what that is. That's a ploy for your money. The government is trying to blame it on Proposition 13 so that you will vote to get rid of it. Just think about that for a second, because then they can raise taxes and get more of your money. That's what they're trying to do. I mean, you guys, you got to see through this. This government needs to change. This is a regime. These guys are out to get you. They want more of your money. The California government, the Democratic government in this state is so much in your pocketbook, it isn't even funny. They're taking your money over and over and over, and that's what they want to do. If you want to do something about these housing prices, it's real simple. Vote on the other party. And a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't like Donald Trump and I don't like all this stuff. You know what? Hey, you know what? You don't have to like those guys. The guys that were running for the state of California, John Cox was a very, very moderate conservative. You guys like, the other people that have been running for the state have been very moderate conservatives. They weren't even going after like gay rights or anything like some of the other crazy things that I think are just not right, okay, about the party. Okay, I'm not going to say, that all those things I agree with, okay, but I'm just saying that there's lots of people out there that will run for office if they think they can win, that will actually not go after those things, that will try and do the right thing for this state. But as long as we have these Democrats in here, that's all they're going to do. They just want to raise taxes, build bigger, larger government, get more of your money, and then just take that money and just give pay raises to themselves, and get those lobbyist dollars and retire in their big fat homes. And don't think I don't see it. You know what? I traveled all over the United States. I've been right near Washington, D.C., and some of the biggest houses I've ever seen in my life were right near Washington, D.C., where these assholes retire and they go to these big old homes. I'm talking about 25, 30. I was driving down the road. I thought I was looking at a hotel. I was like, man, that's a big old hotel. Why is it out here in the middle of nowhere? And all of a sudden I see a street full of them. And it was all houses from these government people that are taking your lobbyist money. Listen, get smart about it. This is what's happening. Do something. Vote different. Get those guys out of office. Let's get some people in California that care about doing the right thing for the people. Talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.